much. I'm hoping my voice will last the session, so if I become inaudible, I'll apologise. The origin of this talk is really frustration more than anything else. We have some very wonderful people in our profession, some very wonderful academics, researchers, very knowledgeable people. And there is sometimes the feeling that some of us are left behind. Those of us who don't have all of the time to read all of the papers or all of the research backing can sometimes feel a little isolated. This is a talk for non-academics. I'm the least qualified person in this room to talk about research methods. So this is a talk for everybody who doesn't get statistics, who doesn't understand these things very easily. A couple of disclaimers first. There's an awful lot of quotes in this, because I much prefer other people's quotes to my own. Offence is the collateral damage of free speech. I without a doubt offend some of you today. I won't apologise for that. I think it's lots of fun. And as Christopher Hitchens says, I'm not running for anything, so I don't have to pretend to like people when I don't. The world has changed since many of us went to university. We now live in an information age where there is unprecedented access to information. More than ever before, our patients have access to almost the same information that we do. When we went to university, or when some of us went to university, the thing that made us special was that we had access to the knowledge which was in the libraries and it was in the journals, which could only be accessed from the university and from the people who taught us, who had this special knowledge. The average member of the public had no access to any of that information. But then the world changed, then the internet was invented, and now all of the information in the world...
Sorry.
In the front row, and she's a oh, shame! All of the information in the world is now out there, from how to build an atomic bomb to how to try to fix a foot. So the skills that we now need are different. We need not only to know stuff, but we need to know how to filter good information from bad information. Because, of course, with the internet and all of this extra knowledge, has come an awful lot of information which is simply not true, which is not filtered any longer. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it's the illusion of knowledge. The lady over there who asked the question, who said, if you don't, what was it? If you don't admit your ignorance, you keep it. I think that was a wonderful, I'm going to steal that. When you qualify, therefore, these days, this is when we start to learn. This is when we start to take in more information. But now, out of university, we're no longer in a controlled environment. We no longer have a lecturer saying, read this paper, don't read that paper. We have no supervision and we have no filtration of information. We have all of this information, the good and the bad, coming into us, which has caused something to arise, which is called bad science. The term was made popular by Ben Goldacre in his book, and I warmly recommend that you get it. In biomechanics, perhaps more than any other field in podiatry, there is an awful lot of very bad information. There is an awful lot of very bad science out there. Another good quote, you can't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. That was Abraham Lincoln said that. Somebody actually once ridiculously suggested to me that might have been photoshopped, which is obviously untrue because Photoshop hadn't been invented when Abraham Lincoln was alive, so it's a silly idea. There are a few reasons that biomechanics attracts so much bad science. One of them is complexity. When you look at that, what do you see there? A lion, yes. You're very close, you're not quite right. It's not a lion, it's Cecil the lion. It's not just a generic lion. The Daily Mail, again, that bastion of journalistic integrity. There is a depressing eagerness to accept a bad explanation rather than no explanation at all. When we see something that we don't understand, we like to build the story around it. We like to give ourselves a framework to understand it. We are pattern-seeking creatures. What do you see there?
The manger.
nativity scene. Being an atheist, I see two Tyrannosaurus Rexes having a battle in front of the circus or with a meteorite coming down. But different people can look at different things and see something entirely different. And so it is with biomechanics. Another reason that there is so much bad science in biomechanics, and we don't like to talk about this one, is that there is a lot of money in biomechanics. During the course of your career, you will issue many an orthotic, and you will be charging anywhere between maybe 200 and 15,000 euros, which is the most expensive orthoses I'm aware of. You'll be charging £40 to £200 for an assessment, and a good chunk of that will go to the lab, the person who provides you with the insoles. So there is a vested interest for people, for you, A, to do biomechanics, and B, to do their biomechanics, their patented, trademarked version of biomechanics. They will want you as a customer, and they will want you as an exclusive customer. And the best way of doing that is to give you a framework that you can only use in their lab, a model that you can only use with them. Another cause of bad science in biomechanics is enthusiasm. A pleasing and ambitious model is always more appealing than a complex and a difficult reality. If I say to a patient, your headaches are caused by your bad posture, and the insoles will fix your posture and improve your headaches, that is a nice, accessible thing for a patient to hear. And if you say that to your patient, they will thank you for it. They will be happy. They will think, this person has a solution. Or you could say that your headaches are a complex and multifactorial problem incorporating elements of nutrition, eyesight, genetics, neurology, nutrition, again, food sensitivity, lifestyle, occupation, many other factors. Not being a neurologist, I don't fully understand the nature of your headaches, and as a profession, the role of ascending motor patterns and kinetic changes arising from orthoses are only imperfectly understood, but the placebo rate for headaches is pretty high, and regression to the mean will probably help, so we could have a crack if you like. Now, which one of those statements is more true? I would offer that it's probably the second one. Which one will the patient be more likely to want to hear? Certainly it's going to be the first one. People will form a line for the reassuring lie. The inconvenient truth will have no such cue. Like Costa. Now, some woo in biomechanics. Anyone not familiar with the word woo? It's the noise you make when somebody shows you something exciting and different. Woo. Some woo is easier to spot than others. These insoles, which the patient brought in, 2 pairs for me, claim to cure cranial circulation, breathing, shoulder girdle, healthy cardiovascular, pretty much everything. I would draw your attention to number 8, which is that the area under the heel there boosts sexual performance and desire. Whether you have to wear the insoles to get the effect, I don't know, but there it is.
Where'd you wear?
Indeed. This caused me a bit of a worry when I saw this, because for a long time I've been giving people heel pads with holes in the middle for painful heels. Have I been causing an epidemic of impotence for the last 20 years? It could be. In fact, all joking aside, there is a way that you can combat impotence with an insole, but it's not very convenient. It's actually easier with tongue depressors. There are a number of reasons why we believe the things that we believe. There are a number of ways which we come to our conclusions. You can categorise them in 2 broad ways. One is research. And within research there are a few traps we must avoid. One is over-extrapolation. Very often with research we get a small piece of data which is good data, but then people over-extrapolate to it. They read more into it than you reasonably can. Misleading abstracts, because an abstract doesn't always represent what's in the paper, and non-sequitur conclusions. From empiricism, just experience and what we see, there is all sorts of faulty reasoning, logical traps, fallacies, and we must be aware of deliberate, cynical deception. There are people out there who say things which are not true to sell stuff to sick people. We don't like to talk about it, but it's there. A few examples in research. A fairly good study here, published in a fairly good journal, on comparing custom-made orthoses to prefab orthoses for heel pain. A sort of research that we're all fairly familiar with, I'm sure. And this study found that their custom orthoses worked better than their prefabricated orthoses, which, as Craig Payne on Podiatry Arena said, seemed a little odd because all the other studies that we've done on the same lines show no differences between the two. So we have to dive into the methodology, and deep within the methodology you will find the comparison. The custom insoles were made using a mass casting technique, which is a particularly high arch, and the prefabricated insoles were flat, low density, open cell, 4mm foam. In other words, the sort of thing you'd buy from a shoe shop when your kid's shoe is a little too large for their feet. You cannot compare a flat piece of rubber to a shaped casted insole. It's misleading. It is technically true to say that a flat piece of rubber is a prefabricated insole. It's prefabricated, it's an insole. But it invites you to believe that it is something other than it is. It invites you to believe that it's something like a Vasili or a casted or a shaped insole. So you do have to read the content as well as the abstract. In terms of measurement, another example picked at random is digital inclinometry, which is enjoying something of a renaissance at the moment. Digital pelvic inclinometry has been around for a very long time. Analog inclinometers were used, and it's a way of measuring the forward tilt in a pelvis. So in other words, take a point from there and there, and it's that movement there. They call me Mr. Bombastic. Be serious, conference. It turned digital a few years ago. We had digital inclinometers which were cheap and cheerful, so we stuck them on there. And it has also been made into quite a nice looking piece of kit, a digital pelvic inclinometer, which is sold to measure the position of your pelvis. I won't bore you with all of that. Now, it looks for all the world like good science. It uses the right words like measure, quantify, precision, quantitative, evidence, tracking progress, measuring things and seeing how they change. Has all the hallmarks of good science. We have to ask the question, does it work? The first test that we have to apply to it is very simply accuracy. Are we measuring what we think we are measuring? Are we getting a true reflection? And the way we tend to work that is by using repeatability, because if something is a true representation of something, you'll get the same result once. If I measure you once and it says you're 60 kilograms, and then again and it says you're 100 kilograms, one of those measurements is wrong. So we can use repeatability as an analogue, because if it's not repeatable, we know it, in part at least, is not accurate. And these things matter, because if you give somebody an antihypertensive based on a blood pressure reading, you need that blood pressure reading to be right. It's the same in biomechanics. It cannot both be alive and dead. It cannot both be one thing and another. There are two flavours of repeatability. Intra-rater, which is where the same person gets the same result lots of times, and inter-rater, where different raters get the same result lots of times. Intra-rater is easier to get. So repeatability is the minimum requirement for a test to be considered useful. Is it repeatable? Well, there was a study that was published fairly recently which said that it was. The conclusion was that the repeatability was either good or very good, depending on the different conditions. And it was a well carried out study. The methodology was fairly sound and it was all good. But it is worth checking the stats. Another good quote is that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Now we know that goniometry, that measuring lines and angles on people, is difficult. Measuring the bisection of the rear foot is fraught with difficulty. Trying to find the ASIS and PSIS is hard. So we might think, well, yeah, that's going to need something special to convince me. And of course, we have to be aware of the statistics. A lovely quote from this chap: if I stick my right foot in a bucket of boiling water and my left foot in a bucket of ice water, on average, I'm comfortable. So we do a little burrow into the statistics. Don't freak out, it won't hurt. Now, they were good enough to provide the raw data for this study. Now, if you look at that, what I see is a big wall of numbers. It means nothing to me. It's very hard to read that and interpret it. Unless we've got Rain Man in the house, it's hard to see. And it's broken down in a fairly unintuitive way, that we have the left side readings on there, the right side readings on there. We have 2 sessions and 2 raters. It's difficult to match the two. But we can simplify it by taking one of the raters out and putting it left side, right side. So what we're looking at there is in the first session they measured the left side as that and the right side as that. In the second session the left side is that and the right side is that. So we would expect that number to be the same as that number to be the same as that number, if it's repeatable. Everyone comfortable with that?
Yeah.
And if we look down here, we can see a few that it isn't. The one circled in red, on that occasion he measured the left hip as 14.67 degrees, and then a few days later he measured the same hip on the same person using the same machine as 3.5 degrees. That's a 10-degree difference between the two. One of the uses of this data is in comparing the inclination on the left side to the right side. And where the x's are there, on the first occasion he measured the right side as higher than the left, on the second the left was higher than the right. On that one, the first time the left was higher than the right, the second one the right was higher than the left. So what we have here is more than 10 degrees of variation, more than 5 degrees a lot of the time, and the point of this is to compare one reading with another. The idea is you take a measurement, you give them an insole, and then you measure it again after the insole and see if you've changed it. Well, no change has been made here, and yet the data is altered. I would suggest this is not a repeatable tool, in spite of what the abstract says. All that glitters is not gold. You can buy this in America. You can buy a tablet of gold so that your poo sparkles. What a world we are living in. What a world we are living in. Now, apart from research, we use an awful lot of inductive and deductive reasoning in podiatry, and that's fairly straightforward. There is a treatment, there is a process by which that treatment works, and there is an outcome. So, for example, we could say that when we cut nails, we end up with shorter nails, and the person is more comfortable because they're not being hurt by their long nails anymore. It's a simple deductive chain. That's fairly straightforward. There are an awful lot of things which are sold to us with what we might call a black box process. To come back to our new and improved memory foam sexual stimulation insoles, there's a bump under the heel. By the medium of reflexology or something, it improves your sexual performance. There is no clear logical chain that takes you from here to there. There is a black area in the middle where we don't know what's happening. And you'll see this quite a lot. Now, an awful lot of surgeons were very worried by this study because this one on homeopathic podiatry proved, and it was published in the Society journal at the time, that by applying marigold paste to the outside of a bunion, it reduced the intermetatarsal angle. So you guys are going to have to go back to sort of taking corns out and cutting toenails because we just put a bit of magic paste on here, and that will do it. There were a few problems with the study at the time. Tim Kilmartin, who is a god amongst men, looked at the x-rays and thought, that doesn't look as if it's reduced, so he measured the angles himself and found that the x-ray measurements were wrong. Being a good scientist, he then gave the same x-rays to some of his colleagues without telling them what they were and said, measure these angles, and they found that they agreed with him. But the point is with that there's no logical progression from smearing goop onto that bit of the bunion and a shift in the bones somewhere up here in the midfoot. It's a black box process. The way in which it works is hidden to us, and that should always ring alarm bells. Which brings us on to implausible progression, and a particular favourite of mine. Implausible progression is where you have a series of events which look as if they should be sequential, but they're not. Mr. Rothbart's therapy claims that you can adjust the position of the foot with insoles, with that you can adjust the position of the leg, with that you can adjust the position of the pelvis, and into the lumbar spine, and into the cervical spine, into the head, and so on and so forth. Upon which basis he claims to cure chronic pain, elimination of headaches, improvements in respiration, improvement of intestinal and bowel function, healing of diabetic ulcers, obviously, reduction of menstrual pain, that's a good one, There was an occasion when my good lady wife was sat on the sofa with a hot water bottle clamped to her guts and a box of chocolates next to her, and I did say to her, would you like to try these insoles? To improve the menstrual pain. The surgeon was able to remove one of them, the other one is still lodged inside me. Reversal of infertility problems. Now at this point, I always enjoyed listening to the reactions of the crowd without words, because when you start talking about fixing infertility in women, you usually start getting a few ooh, don't we? Because that's not quite so tasty. Reduce stoic, droopy in eyelids, that's without the insole, that's with the insole. This is unironically claimed. Treat facial distortion, that's with the insole and that's without the insole. And if you look at the lines that I put in there, apparently it also makes the skull shrink. Not saying that it is Photoshopped, but that is definitely Photoshopped. It made my Down syndrome child look normal, with and without the insoles. Now we are a group of professionals in a professional context, but as far as I'm concerned, if you claim to make Down syndrome children look normal, you are a bellend and have no business in medicine. And of course prevent suicide. This was sent round after Robin Williams killed himself, whereby he claimed that if he had only had these insoles, he might not have done so. Each individual step on that route sounds plausible. Each individual thing, from changing the position of the foot to changing the positions all the way up, each individual one is straightforward, but the more links you have in that chain, the more dubious it becomes. Hell is not paved with good, the road to hell is not paved with good intentions, it's walled and roofed and furnished with them. It is a slippery slope. So this black box, this obfuscated process, is when you are given a process which is either pseudoscience or complex to the point of incomprehensibility. And it's fairly common. It can be by design, it can be done deliberately, or sometimes by accident. And we suffer in podiatry from this emperor's new clothes paradigm that we're uncomfortable about saying, sorry, that doesn't make sense to me. I was interested by your comment in your introduction about asking the hard question. Sometimes you have to say, I can't see the clothes, and sorry, explain it to me, unwrap it for me. You'll get the treatment, you'll get a really complex sounding, sciencey type explanation, which leads to something very simple you buy, and then you get your outcomes. Or it'll be a natural remedy to restore the natural balance. Or it's ancient wisdom, we've been doing it for 3,000 years. Or it boosts the immune system so your own body can heal itself. These are all black box processes. One cannot boost an immune system, it is not your central heating. A boosted immune system is called an autoimmune disease, or restoring natural equilibrium, or whatever you want to call it. These are not modes of action. These are not reasonable things that as medical professionals we can look at and say, yes, this is how it works. It is very easy to wander astray. Possibly my favourite of many good quotes from Christopher Hitchens. His sail was so raised as to balloon to any gust of bullshit which happened by. Good. What I would recommend to you is skepticism. Skepticism is not the same as cynicism. Skepticism simply means a questioning attitude to unempirical knowledge or anything that is stated as a fact. It means that you start from the perspective that you do not believe something until you are given a reason to believe it. It is very often muddled up with cynicism, which is where you don't believe anything even when you are shown good evidence for it. There are two razors that will help you in this. Occam's razor is that when faced with competing hypotheses, select the one that makes the fewest assumptions. Keep it simple as far as possible. An example of which is that I suspect everybody in this room would agree that in certain circumstances, orthoses can help with lower back pain. We know that the placebo rate for lower back pain is very high. It's one of those complex multifactorial conditions that respond well to placebos. So it might be improving because of that. Or it might be improving because of regression to the mean, because most people when they get lower back pain will get better ultimately by themselves. So it might be that they've got better after they were insoles because of that. Or it might be this bioimplosion model whereby your pelvis shifts position. Lovely graphic. I'm a little unsure about the relative length of the femur and the tibia there. Questions. Hitchens razor is that the burden of proof or onus in a debate lies with the claim maker. If he or she does not meet it, the opponent does not need to argue against an unfounded claim. If I tell you that my magic pills cure cancer, you don't have to show me that they don't. I have to show you that they do. When somebody makes a claim, whether it is in marketing or a brochure or on the internet or on UK Podiatry, whatever it is for them to prove it to you or show it to you. It is not for you to argue against it. And just try it is not an argument. And with Hitchens' razor, the level of the claim has to match the level of the evidence. If somebody claims that their insoles might help a foot pain, you don't have to make a huge leap to believe it. If somebody claims that their insoles cure infertility, they're going to have to show me some pretty good evidence for that. So that brings us to the end. A few concluding points. There is as much bad information out there as good. As medical professionals, it is for you to filter it. Because what you take into yourself, you regurgitate like a bird with a baby bird to your patients. If you are believing something which is untrue, and I think we can agree there's a lot of untrue out there, you are doing your patients a misservice. It is our job as the experts to filter the bad information. It must be remembered that many people and companies have a financial vested interest in convincing you what they believe is true. Sometimes it is true, but sometimes it's not. Skepticism is a wonderful thing. Every April Fool's Day, we all look at the newspapers and look for the spoof story, don't we? Or in Podiatry Now or on the internet. Treat every day like April Fool's Day. Make believe that one of the stands down there is an April Fool's type stand, that it's me down there trying to make you buy something which is nonsense. And go out and look for it. Treat it with that level of skepticism. And last but not least, science, the systematic investigation, is simply the way we find out what is true. You will very often hear the criticism of science that it gets it wrong a lot, which is true. But whilst it is often proved wrong, it is always proved wrong by better science. It is never proved wrong by pseudoscience, faith, or gut feelings. Upon which note, I will thank you for your very kind attention.
Any questions? Microphone just behind you, sir.
Interesting talk. You said just now.
You need to shimmy to your left.
Shimmy forward. Let's come even closer than that. Pretend it's an insult.
You stated that it is our job as experts to filter out bad information.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, to get a paper published, it is sent out for peer review before it gets published.
Yes, indeed.
So that suggests we're all crap.
What I would say there, the peer review process is absolutely vital and it does insulate us. It does take a lot of it out. But that study that I put up with the marigold shifting the IM angle was published in a peer review journal. The chap who claims to cure infertility has had papers published in peer review journals. Sometimes things slip through. And whilst a lot of information we get is from good studies and good journals, a lot of it is from other sources. Anybody can write anything on the internet, as I'm sure we know when our patients bring in their sheet of Google printouts and say, have you ever heard of plantar fasciitis? For example.
I think it's a very good point. When we look at biomechanics, and Robert is very well versed in this, and colleagues will now and again will start to poo-poo root and right and weed theory. And quite rightly too, there's a lot more evidence that come out. It doesn't mean at the time when it was peer reviewed that people were necessarily maliciously or through commission trying to mislead. It's sometimes a degree of information that's available is all they had to make that assessment. And luckily, I love the quote at the end, if you go back one, which is, science is very fine out, and it's only later proved wrong by better science and further learning and ongoing. And there may be, and there probably will be, over the last 2 days, and colleagues that are going to be speaking to us next, whatever they teach us today may in 10 years be totally disproved. It doesn't mean that it necessarily wasn't tried and tested. But I think when you get the glaringly obvious faux pas that were put out there about, and we have got the sexual dysfunction on because it makes everyone giggle because it says sex, is, I mean, that's just totally an outlandish claim. And I think it's those things that I think we should be better at filtering, because it's what our patients then read. And it's the bit I talked about yesterday about the Sunday Times supplement that will say, I can cure magic things, and then they come in. As long as we don't immediately go, oh yes it could, and we filter out and try and find the answer, I think that's the thing. So potentially are we all crap? No, probably more people on this side of the stage than that are. But you know, we've just particularly done it for long enough and we talk loud enough so we get to sit here and spout it. But hopefully you filter it out and you'll block it out. Any more questions for Robert? I'm sure he'll be very happy to hang around to answer some questions as we go into the break. We'll see you back again. It's one of these short breaks to come back at about 2:45, 3.